My father was born in Minnesota. My mother went to Mankato. I was in Mankato a couple weeks ago for my dad's 60th high school class reunion. I was the driver. So I've been to some of those bars that you hung out in there. So I was born in Spearfish, South Dakota. Beautiful Black Hills, home of Mount Rushmore. And I started a business when I was 5, and I sold night crawlers on the street. Some of you have heard of the Passion Play. Some of your parents might have taken you to the Passion Play. When I was a little kid growing up in Spearfish, it was a tiny little town, but it had the country's only Passion Play, other than that little one they had in Florida. And tens of thousands of people would come to the Passion Play, and I played everything from a camel to probably Mary. I never got to play Christ. But I grew up in that little town, and I knew there were two things I was never going to do. I was never going to college, and I was never going in the military. And I was in high school, and I was busy, and life was grand, and I'm telling this story for some of you. And high school got over, and I'm flipping burgers at McDonald's. And all my friends went off to college, and September rolled around, and I was like, dang, what am I going to do now? So I joined the Army, and that was 30-some years ago, and I'm still in the military now. I'm in the Kansas National Guard, and I went to school for 7 years, and I'm an attorney. Don't hold that against me. I usually start my talks with a lawyer joke, but Lori said I only had 45 minutes, so I'm trying to keep it short. While I was in school, I served 2 terms on the Vermilion City Council. I always said that was the greatest education I ever had, so I encourage you to do that. I went to law school in South Dakota. I practiced law in South Dakota. One day in 2010, a good friend of mine called me the day after he got elected governor and said, "Would you move to Pierce, South Dakota, and be my general counsel?" And I said, "General counsel? I don't think the governor's ever had one. What would you want me to do?" And he said, "I have no idea, but we're going to have a lot of fun." So in 2010, I wrapped up my law practice. I wrapped up making an amazing living, so I encourage law school for you guys. And I went into public service again, and I was married when I went into public service. I'm not married anymore. That's all I'm going to tell you about that. I've got 2 wonderful kids, ages 21 and 25. They're amazing. They're both in South Dakota. One's going to school. One is the manager of the MRI and CAT scan department at Rapid City Regional. I'm trying to get him to Parkview, so let me know if there's an opening. I've got a beautiful yellow lab. Her name is Grace, and she loves to pheasant hunt, so if you have pheasants, I know they're hard to find down here. I'm willing to pay. And right now I'm the Director of Operations for Black Hills Energy. About a year and a half ago, the senior folks at Black Hills Energy recruited me out of the governor's office, and I left public service, and I went into working for Black Hills Energy as my intentions to be as general counsel eventually after I learned the business. They told me that might take a couple years to learn the electric utility business since I had never been in it. Thank God the lights are still on. And so about 8 months ago, a friend of mine, Vance Crocker, that I was in the National Guard with 20 years ago, called me and said, "Jim, I want you to come to Pueblo. We're the most beloved company in Pueblo and the surrounding area. You are going to love it. Come on down." And I came down to Pueblo, and he took me to dinner on the River Walk, and it was January, and it was 70-some degrees, and I was like, "Vance, you're absolutely right. I love it." And I have tried to eat dinner in every restaurant in Pueblo, and I haven't had one person say anything negative to me, even though I always have this logo on. And so I think that's pretty fantastic. And so I do love it here, and I need to wrap up. So I will tell you that I love to mountain bike, so if you're a big mountain biker, get a hold of me and we'll go for a ride. Thank you.
Well done.